Namaste. So, Kath and Suzanne, here we are again, and today's topic is headstand. Now, headstand is one of the most controversial poses because it can lead to injury. So our body is not generally designed to hold 92% of our body weight onto a structure that's only designed to hold 8% of our body weight. So our head obviously is nowhere near as much weight in it as our body has. So this is what makes headstand such a controversial pose. It has, however, so many benefits. It rebalances hormones, it rejuvenates the organs, the blood flow, increases vitality, balances out the body temperature. It's said to be the antidote to aging. It has so many benefits that we do persist with it, but it is an advanced pose. So today's practice is not about doing headstand, but it's about learning the things to work on that will take you there eventually. So we're going to work on, there's several things that you need. What it's got in common with pretty much all inversions is some need for hamstring length, core, good strong core, and open armpits, and some arm strength. So these are the things we're going to be working on. Plus there is a couple of specific things that are needed for headstand, which is the strength, the ability to push away using the whole outside edge of the forearm, little finger, outside wrist, and whole outside edge of that forearm. So that's a very specific movement. The armpits must also be able to really open up. So if I turn Kath sideways, she needs to be able to get that armpit really open so that when she pushes, if she imagines a floor there, when she pushes, her forearm must come slightly above the crown of the head. If it doesn't, if it's below the crown of the head, if the armpit's closed, you can see that there needs to be compression to fit her neck in, and then when upside down, she's got the weight of the body there. So obviously this is not a good situation. Compression on the neck vertebrae is quite common if not practiced properly. Now the other secret ingredient that we have in yoga is how to move energy. So one of the most important practices I recommend, which we won't do today, I have got on our website a whole meditation dedicated to the 5 vayus. And this meditation I recommend you do daily if you can, especially if you're looking towards working with the energy in your body. You really do want to be able to move that energy from the central point down towards the earth and up away from the earth. So this is the secret ingredients that yogis have, is they know how to move that energy, not just down, not just creating foundation and structure, but away. It's creating lightness and lift away from the earth and taking pressure off those vulnerable joints more than just by using your physical strength or physical structure. We will do one standing pose today so that you can get a sense of the standing poses, forearm dog. There's many poses that cultivate that ability to move that energy through in an active way. So we're going to do just one standing pose today so you can get a sense of moving that energy through. All right, let's begin. So we're going to start today just in Tadasana. So nice and still. So softening the legs off so you can get a slight tuck on the tailbone. And then taking a breath there into the belly, into the heart. And on the exhale, consciously sending that breath down through the legs, into the feet, hitting the ankles and out through the 4 corners of the foot. So you're really getting that sense of pressing down into the earth. And at the same time, as you press down, you feel the response of the body as the heart and spine lifts up and crown extends. Even the arms pay more attention and seem to get longer when you press down into the earth in this way. Now, our extra action is not only are we sending our energy down to the earth, but similar to the tree roots. When a tree sends its roots into the earth, but it draws up that water, that energy, that nutrients, and it sends it out through its branches and through its foliage and grows upwards. So we breathe in, belly, heart, we breathe out, we send that breath down, and at the same time, we're also from the belly sending that breath up. Pelvic floor lifts, breath moves up through the spine, up through the crown, and you might even feel like your neck and crown are getting longer. Good. Just another breath like that. Whole body breathing in. Pause, and then on the exhale, you not only got from the belly a movement of the breath down through the legs, but also from the bottom of the belly and pelvic floor up through the spine and the crown, feeling the two directions of energy. Now Kath's just going to come into Trikonasana. She's going to step into Trikonasana, and she's going to reapply, just moving that energy again. So she's not going to come too far into it. The point is not how far into it you go, but being able to move that energy. So she's going to come to a point where she's fairly relaxed, and now she's going to breathe in into the belly, into the heart, and on the exhale from that belly, the breath moves down into those legs, the feet move into the floor and apart, the head of the femur moves back, and the energy is moving through that crown and lengthening through that crown, keeping that neck lifted and light. Her energy is also moving through those hands. One hand is pushing down, the other is moving upwards. She's got that feeling, you can see that energy moving. One teacher used to call it a 5-pointed starfish. I like to see it almost like a radiating star, where the belly is the center and it moves out in the 5 directions through the feet, through the crown and through the 2 hands. Very nice. Soften the legs, press into the floor and come up, changing sides. And again, she'll come into it softly so that she can have space and time to move with the breath and create action with the breath and with the vayu. So breathing in, whole body breathes in. She's in a nice soft position. And then on the exhale, the belly comes in and it moves that breath down into the feet. So foundation first, always addressing foundation. Pressing the feet down wide, that front foot pressing forward, and the head of the femur deepening into that hip socket. And then feeling that energy also move through that spine, the crown, the neck getting longer. She's pressing away from that floor with the bottom hand and reaching up with the top hand. And she inhale, and she's coming back up and back to Tadasana. Now, one of the aspects that we need in headstand, and most inversions, is long hamstrings. Now, it's not for the pose itself, obviously. When you're up there, it doesn't really matter whether your hamstrings are long or not. But when you are coming into and going out of the pose, if your hamstrings are short, you're locked into a position that we often call cat pose. So Kat's going to come into tiger and cat now. She's just going to show you the tiger and cat position. Tiger, the hamstrings are longer, so from the back of the knee to the sitting bones, there's length in those hamstrings. And exhaling into cat, you can see the distance between the back of the knee and the sitting bones is much shorter. And now if your hamstrings are tight, you're locked in this position. So when you do something like try to come up to a headstand, she'll just put her hands in headstand position and keeping that curve, and when she tries to kick up or she tries to walk her feet in, if the hamstrings are short, she cannot get the hips over the shoulders and she cannot open the armpits properly. So it means that she has to jump vigorously to get in, which really destabilizes and puts a lot of pressure on the joints of the shoulder and the neck, which is what we don't want. Whereas when the hamstrings are long enough and she can go closer to that tiger position, you can see that she can walk in and she can place those hips above the shoulders. She got nice open armpits. She can press into the forearms, and it's really easy for her to simply press into the arms and float the legs up from that place. Now, you're not going to be doing that today, or maybe for some time. I'll get Kath to relax back down again. That's just to demonstrate why long hamstrings are important. Now today we're just going to do a simple hamstring demonstration, which is Uttanasana. I'm going to get Kath to start on the wall, so making your body an L shape, pressing the hands waist height, walking back, so that you've got enough height that you can do tiger and cat with your pelvis. So just try. Can you move your pelvis in tiger and cat position? If you can't, take your hands a bit higher. So Kath can manage it, so she now turns her sitting bones up into the tiger position, so she gets maximum length on her hamstrings. So turning those sitting bones up, Kath, tiger, more. Now the idea is not to push the chest down. Now the chest might soften towards the floor if your hamstrings are long enough, and if that's the case, you can walk down and take your hands just on the floor in front of you. Now you still want to be able to do tiger and cat, so just check that you can. If you need to soften your legs a bit, do that, and she can still get that action of the tiger. That's good. Now getting into tiger position, and she rests there. And of course, experienced students, you're pressing the heels down into the floor and wide, so you get even more turning up of those sitting bones and more release in that spine. And if you're very comfortable and experienced, you can relax all the way down and hold your elbows. Now, the main ingredient for lengthening hamstrings is time. Not just time over time, as in months or years, but time in the pose. So staying here and breathing for at least 1 minute, but if you can do 2 minutes every day, this will really be beneficial for your hamstrings. The hamstrings have a thing called contract reflex. They don't like to be overstretched, so that's why I'm encouraging this gentle way of moving into it under control and using your breath, and then spending time there, because if you're in a position that's too strong for your body, you won't be able to spend the time. So that's another way of knowing that you're in that right position. Also contract your thighs, and that will help to release the hamstrings through reciprocal inhibition. Now Kath's going to bend the legs, sink the hips and uncurl the body, coming all the way up back to Tadasana. Now the next aspect that we're going to work on is core. So hamstrings and core are two really important parts. Now if your core is strong, it's like having a nice strong central axis, keeping your body strong, upright or upside down. So I'm going to get Kath to lay down on the floor. This is my absolute favourite core exercise, mostly because it activates exactly the right muscles that you need to lower and come up from an inversion such as headstand, but it also activates those muscles that lay along the front of the spine, really deep into the core and keeping that body nice and strong. So you're looking at core not as the surrounding group of muscles in the abdomen, but as your core action through the center of the body from perineum to crown, kind of like an apple core. And this pose helps to activate that physically, as does proper use of the bandhas. Now I won't go too much in the bandhas today. They're very subtle actions, but when the pelvis is gently placed in a tucked position, Mula Bandha is more naturally activated. When the waist is long, Uddiyana Bandha is more naturally activated, and when the chin is down, Jalandhara Bandha is more naturally activated. But that's for another day. So today we're going to raise those legs up to 90 degrees, and then she's going to tuck her chin in and curl up from the ground and reach her hands towards the front of the mat, as if she's really trying to touch the front of the mat and the shoulders come off. Now she's going to use a hand to feel underneath her kidneys and make sure there is no gap, like zero gap. She can't get her hands underneath. This is where you want to be the whole time. And this means that the pubic bone is rolling into the navel a little bit, the tailbone is curling up away from the floor just that little bit. Now once she's comfortable there, she can start to send energy through those legs as if she's stretching through the soles of the feet, and start to take the soles of the feet away from her a little bit. But she does not want to lose that pressure into the kidneys. So she wants to check. She hasn't lost it. Good. She can stay there. If she still can maintain it, she can take the legs out a little bit further. And if she can still maintain it, she can take it out further again. But if she loses it, she has to bring the legs back up. She's still good, so she can go a tiny bit further. Good. And inhale, coming up. And she can have a little rest. Just have a little rest. Now, this pose, you'll feel it when you come out from the rest. it is strong in that core region. If you don't feel it today, you'll feel it tomorrow. Don't be in a hurry to take those legs down. Keep the legs up at 90 degrees and only lower them down a couple of millimeters or a centimetre at a time, maybe per week, maybe a centimetre per week. Do not be in a hurry for this. It's really crucial that you take time to condition your body for this pose. It's essential that you take time. So she'll do it one more time and we'll give you another couple of options. So if you can't quite take the legs down yet and you notice that you're starting to lower those shoulders, roll the shoulders up more. And then think about the pubic bone curling in towards the navel and really curl that chin in. That's it. And if it's too strong in the neck, you can do this with your upper neck and shoulders on the ground and place your hands underneath your buttocks, palms down, to keep the curl of the pubic bone. So, and then you can start to lower the legs a little bit. So if that's too strong, it's not as good as the core exercise with the head up, but if that was too strong for your neck and shoulders, that is an option for you. And now you're all going to relax again. So I recommend doing this for about 20 breaths, then have a rest and do 3 rounds. So 20 breaths times 3 with a couple of breaths resting in between. If you can't do 20 breaths at first, try for 10 and then build it up until you can maintain 20 breaths at 90 degrees. And then when you're comfortable there, you can start slowly progressing to taking the legs away from the body, but always making sure that that lumbar spine, the kidney region, is flat and you cannot get your hands underneath. So that's one of the best core exercises. Another great core exercise, of course, is plank. So just coming over into the plank position and elbows under shoulders, tucking the toes under, and practicing just plank, Kath, not the forearm dog just yet. So walk your feet away, just plank, walk the feet away, that's it, and drop those hips a little bit, that's it. So your elbows are a bit farther back, so elbows underneath shoulders and holding that body nice and strong. So that core that you just activated, we're just staying here and we're breathing. Staying here and breathing. And when you can comfortably hold that for about 20 breaths or so, and then have a rest, that's good. You can build up to 3 minutes in that pose. It's very strong, but it's very good for holding that core and keeping you off the ground. Now, the next aspect is that very specific movement that you need to do, which is pressing down into the forearms and opening up those armpits. So forearm dog is what we're going to be doing now. She's going to place her elbows down with her hands either interlocked or in prayer position. Either is okay. Tuck the toes under, press the forearms down, and she's going to just stay in the easy version first of all. So she's there in position. You do not want to press the chest forward. So now you're breathing in, and all of your breath now goes into that forearm, which presses down and forward towards the wall. That's it. You can see her armpits opening. So if you can get the legs down, that's great, but this is not our focus at the moment. You are keeping, like with all dog, as you press the forearm down and forward, the hips are lifting up and away, so you are getting that lifting action away from the ground. And breathing there. Now, if you have trouble creating that action, look forward to your hands and stick your fingers out, your index fingers out, or your whole prayer, doesn't matter, and push your hands in the direction as if you're trying to slide your hands to the wall. That's good. See that extra opening? And now relax your head again. That's it. So you look at your fingers and then you press your fingers towards the wall, and then you can relax again, getting that nice opening. And taking a rest now, down in child. So this has helped her to open her armpits. And now we've got a special strengthening exercise. I might get her to flip around. I think it'll be easier if you flip around for this one rather than head to wall. She's going to start into forearm dog again, but this time she's going to lower down and she's going to, from the forearm dog, she's going to look at the hands and she's going to lower down and kiss the floor beyond the fingertips and then push away from the floor back into the down dog. And just going to repeat that a few times. Now, you may or may not be able to get that far. Just go as far as you can. The important part is that when you push back, you're pushing with that whole outside forearm. From the elbow to the outside of the little fingers, that whole area gets pushing. So Kath's just going to do it halfway now. So even if you can only come there, just push, and now push back into the forearm dog. That's it. The important part is the pushing away, because this mimics the action of pushing away from the ground and keeping those armpits open. She can kneel down and have a little rest. Now again, you can do, I recommend building up to being able to do quite a few of them, but start small. So start small, 3 to 5, getting lower and lower each time or each week. And then when you're comfortably taking the lips to the outside and all the way back, building up to 20 eventually, and then you'll have a really good, strong action. Now, while she's at the wall, I'm going to get her to sit against the wall and take her feet out in front of her. And this is a way that we measure for the next pose. So where her heels are, that is where her elbows are going to go. So she's going to take note of that. Now, she's just going to put her knee there for the moment, because I want her to show you how to measure where... Oh, actually, no, it's okay. We're just going to do forearm version this one. So she'll put her elbows where that marker was, but facing away from the wall. So she's going to walk her legs up to the wall. So her elbows go where her heels were. And now she walks those feet up. Nice big step up the wall. Head is off the ground at this stage, and only just hip height, not higher. Now she's gone a little bit far out, so she can try and walk her elbows out or just come back in just a fraction. Elbows closer to the wall, just a fraction, that's it. So ideally you want your hips, shoulders and elbows all in a nice clean line. You're pressing the forearms into the ground. You're opening up those armpits, but even more importantly, as you press down and open up those armpits, you're drawing that navel in and lifting those hips away from the ground as well. That's it. Because you don't want to just open the armpits and open the ribs. You don't want to lose. When you let the ribs kick out, you go into too much lordosis, and it's like breaking open that energy core. So you want to be able to keep those ribs nice and contained, just as if you were in Tadasana. In Tadasana, we don't drop the belly out or the ribs out. We keep everything nice and contained so that core energy channel is nice and contained. Now, when you can stay in that pose for a full minute comfortably, you will be ready to move on to the next stage, which is forearm balance. She's going to turn in towards the wall, placing the hands down, palms flat for the initially. And you can initially be quite close to the wall. And she's going to walk up. And again, here's where those nice long hamstrings come into play, because she's going to walk in as closely as she can. When she kicks up, she's not kicking the feet up. She's just kicking so that her sacrum goes towards the wall. She's going to try and kick her sacrum up. Hips are above the shoulders. She's pressing down into the floor, opening those armpits. And she can look and check her hands, but she really wants to press into the hands as well. That's it. There needs to be pressure all the way through, not just in one part. Now, sometimes people feel more comfortable with the hands interlocked, but when you're balancing, the wider hands give you a little bit more of a broad base, but you figure out what feels good for you. Forearm balance is a great pose to practice, because it not only opens your armpits, but it takes you into that inverted state and makes sure that you can keep those armpits open by working into those side forearms. Now, Kath's going to come into the balance. So to practice the balance, come a little bit further away from the wall so that you can take the feet off the wall once you're up in there. I'll let her come in whatever way suits her. She might like the other hand, or she might, that's it. Once she's there and she's really opened up, core active, draw that navel in, and one leg at a time, reaching up with those feet, reaching up, that's it. And breathing, sending that breath through the feet to the ceiling. Good, very nice. Pressing down into the earth with the hands and reaching up with the feet. Good. and coming down nice and lightly, and have a little relax. I worked Kath very hard today. So she's done a lot of things for me today. So in many ways, the headstand, once you're comfortable with it, it is actually more stable and you can stay there longer than the forearm balance because you have got the third part of the stability mechanism or the structure, which is the head, the crown of the head. But again, it's super important that you make space for it by keeping those armpits open and really being able to push into the whole outside edge of that forearm. It's also very important that you place your head on the ground at the right place. So we're going to do against the wall, cup the wall first, but I'm going to get Kat to face us while she shows us how to measure the right place for the head. So you put the heel of the hand into the bridge of the nose. So it's at the top of the nose. So just take your hand away, Kath, for a sec, and when you follow your finger from the tip of the nose up and you feel that dip, that's the bridge of the nose. You place your hand there and you follow your middle finger up, and where your middle finger ends, that's the crown. That's where you want to place your head. Now you rub on it as Kath's doing, and that creates a little sensation that lasts long enough for you to place your head down. Now, if you place your head too far forward, so if you place it, so I'm going to get Kath just to put her hand, if she places it too far forward on the forehead, and she's upside down, that puts a lot of pressure on the C7, the bony bit at the top of the spine, and if she puts it too far back, it can put a lot of pressure on the occipitals at the base of the skull. So we really want to make sure that you get it in that right place. Now we're going to do the walk up the wall version just for a short time. So again, she's going to place her elbows down. She roughly knows where to place them, but you can measure your feet away from the wall as we did for the forearm balance, same thing. She's going to measure, make sure she's got the right place. And once she's got that, she puts her head down and tucks her toes and lifts her hips up. Then walks the feet up the wall into an L shape. Now she's got the support of the wall, she's pressing down, drawing the hips up, and there should be very little pressure on the head at this stage. But you still don't stay here for too long. When you can really comfortably stay here for 1 to 2 minutes, you can start to consider the next phase. So just practice in this half version. This is also a really good version to modify with. If you're in a practice where everyone's doing headstand but you're not quite ready for it, do not do any inversions if you're on your cycle. And now she's going to walk down. You can see that that's much more relaxed for her and much easier than the forearm balance. It actually requires much less effort. Go. Now before you try to move into a full headstand, the last exercise that we're going to do is just a simple rolling up onto the heels. Now again, making sure you've got the right place. Interlock your hands, your elbows are shoulder width. You place the hand down in front of the heels of the hands. And she tucks her toes and she walks up, walking the feet in as close. And again, this is why we're talking about the need for the long hamstrings. So if she had short hamstrings, this would be very difficult for her to do, and it would be much more uncomfortable. So it would be really hard. So she walks up, placing the hips as far over the shoulders as she can, the armpits are open, and all she's doing is lowering her heels down to the floor and raising back up again. Down to the floor and raising back up again. Now this is a really fantastic way to get used to this initial action, and as she raises the heel, she presses into the floor with her arms. And she lowers down, and as she raises her heel, she presses into the floor with the arms. And then over time, as you get more comfortable, one day it will feel very natural to take the legs up, pressing into the floor and using that wall for support. Place the heels on the wall, lift the buttocks off, and try to get as close to Tadasana as you can. So ribs in, core active, armpits opened, and breathing, using the breath into the belly, sending that breath through the legs as if you're trying to slide the heels up the wall and pressing down into the earth, opening those armpits. Now, if your armpits collapse or drop, if there's any pressure on the neck, or if your head goes red, you must come down. If you're not on that point on the head, you must come down. Now, when you come down, there's a couple of different ways of coming down. My preferred way is just to glue one heel to the floor, draw the navel in, as if you're trying to glue the sacrum to the wall, and then slowly lower down. That wasn't quite what I described, but that's one way of doing it. That was the bent leg with two legs, just coming down nice and softly. And of course the other way is drawing the navel in, as if you're trying to glue your hips towards the wall, and taking one leg down and keeping the other leg up. So one leg down towards the floor and keeping the other leg up. This also helps you cultivate core action as you do that, and nice and quietly and down. So the first way is a bit more gentle. The second way helps you cultivate core action, but you must keep the action of gluing that top leg to the wall. So we're not going to go any further than that today. I want to thank Kath for her work. You've hopefully got some really important points. Remember to listen to the 5 vayus every day. Do your hamstring lengthening practice every day. Do your core action every day, your core strengthening every day. And start to do these poses that take you towards the headstand. Forearm balance, dolphin, forearm dog, and even in the down dog, I'll get Kath just to quickly demonstrate the down dog action. So every time you do down dog, you're preparing for headstand. You're pressing down and away with the hands into the floor, and you're lifting the hips away. You can see that movement of the hips lifting away. So as you press down into earth, there's something moving away from the earth. And that nice, beautiful action of the core staying strong, the ribs staying in, and the armpits gently opening over time. So you really want 180-degree opening like Kath's got there. If your armpits are not open like that, don't even try a headstand. So she's going to close her armpits off a bit. So if your armpits are not open to 90 degrees, do not even try to come to a headstand. And she's going to walk forward and come into Tadasana from the side, as we do one last reference point check. So again, as I said earlier, in the Tadasana, you've got everything nice and contained to the center line. If you drop your belly out, you're breaking that flow, you're breaking that core, and bring it back in again. Or if you stick your ribs out, you're also breaking that core. It's like breaking the hose and letting all that beautiful water run out. So you really wanting to keep that closed and contained, so that energy's moving down to the earth and up through the crown, down to the earth and up to the sky, both ways. All right, as always, if you have any questions or you'd like to know more, you can either book a private with Kath. She's amazing with headstand actually, or you can email the Yoga Centre, yoga88@goldcoastyogacentre.com, and ask any further questions that you may have. Now this practice, as I said before, I have to reiterate, this is not for everybody, and you must take time. This can take years to build up to. It's one of the most advanced poses that we do. Unless you can do all of the intermediate steps very comfortably and sustain them for a few minutes, do not consider a headstand. Thank you for your attention. Namaste.